Visiting today in the 9th Street, Calvert City home of Mr. and Mrs. Earl Russell. It's a beautiful day, and Mr. Russell is not feeling real well, but we're going to ask him to tell us about his mom and dad.
Yeah,
Who was your father?
Tom Russell, W.T. Russell. He was raised in Big Sandy, Tennessee. He come here when he was 15-year-old.
Mm-hmm. And that would have been a long time ago.
Yeah.
How old are you, Mr. Russell?
I'll be 84 in May.
Do you remember your mother's maiden name?
Oh, yeah, Viola
Viola.
Russell.
Uh-huh.
She was a Stokes before she married.
Stokes. Good. All right, and then, so they came here when he was a young man. Was she from Marshall County?
Yeah, she was. Yeah, she was born and raised right where she died. Daddy bought the place there. That's where her mother and daddy had.
How many children were there in that family?
Well, there was 11, but 3 of them died when they was babies.
Mm-hmm.
There's 8 of us that lived.
Back in that era, I suppose he farmed?
Farming, yeah, that's all he ever done. Before he come here, he was a timberman.
Mm-hmm.
Drove cattle and all timber.
Did you have to start working at a fairly young age, Mr. Russell?
Do hair.
Did you begin work on the farm as a young boy?
At 8-year-old, Daddy put me behind a mule.
That kept you out of meanness, didn't it?
Yeah.
Was it in this general neighborhood that he lived? Was it near Calvert City?
Yeah, down below Calvert, just a little piece down there.
Where did you go to school?
I was born and raised right across the highway right over here. I mean, I wasn't raised, but I was born over there. I went to school, what they call the Plain View, till I was 8-year-old. Then Daddy moved down there towards Altona, and I went up there to what they call it, the Coursey School. Can't think of the name of that school, but there's a bunch of courses lived around it, and they called it the Coursey School.
Mm-hmm. Well, some of the courses may have given the land for it. That frequently happened.
School ground come off of the courses. Go in there and get that marriage certificate of Daddy and Mama.
He's signaling to his wife now, and she's going to get some documents we might enjoy taking a look at.
Daddy was born in about 73, I guess. He married in 93, and he was 20-year-old. I've heard him tell when he married. But he is 5 years older than Mama.
Well, that'll soon be 100 years ago.
Yeah, I've got a marriage certificate in there.
Mm-hmm. All right, here is the marriage certificate, beautifully framed, and you've kept it well. It says William Russell of Marshall County, Kentucky, married this date in the state of Kentucky to Viola Stokes, also of Marshall County, state of Kentucky. United in marriage at Benton on the 1st day of June 1893. That would be lacking just 6 years of being 100 years ago, and it's signed by seems to be Judge Dupriest. The witnesses were W.A. Stokes and W.H. Stokes. All right, very good. Here's a young man that's come in the room here now. Who is this fella? Do you know him?
No, I don't want to know him.
You don't?
You're on the radio.
Is he a neighbor?
Yeah, it's my son-in-law.
Your son-in-law. Well, it's better to be an in-law than an outlaw. How many children do you have?
I had 5, 3 girls and 2 boys.
Now, tell me about your wife. How did you meet her? Did you meet her at Coursey School?
Yeah, me and her went to school together there when she was about 8 years old.
Well, did you fall in love just?
She started down to what they call Sanders Ridge School when she was just 8 years old when her daddy come to this country. They come from Tennessee too.
Mm-hmm. Well, how did you get her attention? Did you grab her pigtails and yank on them, or?
My brother married her sister, older than me.
Oh, there were some double cousins there? Well,
Yeah, she's still living, but my brother's dead.
Uh-huh. Well, very good.
And he was born in 1900. He died when he was just 66.
Mm-hmm. Well, some live longer than others. All right, you married, and did you start housekeeping right in this neighborhood?
Yeah, I'm married in 22. I've been married 60-some odd years.
1922? Well, that's 64 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been right here on this hill for 45 years. Yeah, married in 22 and 23, me and her had one little kid, the oldest boy, and we moved to Paducah. I stayed down there 5 years.
What did you do there?
I was working there for, they called it the Dominion Construction Company, building that new railroad shops. I hope build them there in Paducah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I recall Averill Harriman spending, $40 million. We thought that was more money than there was on earth to build the biggest railroad shops in the world.
I moved back in farm 5 years on one fella's place.
Mm-hmm.
And I had my second boy was born. He had 5 years difference in their ages.
Mm-hmm.
And got off of there, I moved back to Paducah. And, well, I drove a wholesale truck down there for a long time. And then I come back out here, I went to work for a carpenter contractor here for 35 cents an hour. I worked for him about 2 years. Bought his old boxing. I bought a 50-foot lot out here, and that boxing and built a 2-room house. It cost me $600. I was working for 35 cents an hour. And he left here and went to Elizabethtown, Illinois. And I followed him over there 50 cents an hour and paid board and stayed over there.
You're making big money then.
Yeah. I paid about $600 working 35 cents an hour.
Yes. Well, will give the younger generation some idea of how prices have changed since those days.
You and I went to work 20 cents an hour.
Probably.
Yeah. When I come back from Paducah the second time, I made a trade with a fella to make him a crop, 60 cents a day. I made him a crop for 60 cents a day down in that old river bottom.
That got to be rather hard work, didn't it?
Yeah.
Did you plow mules?
About 80 acres down there in his bottom, and I broke it up with a team of mules by myself. Tended it all.
About how many acres a day could you break with the breaking plow?
Well, you do good to break 3 acres a day. I mean, that's all day long, too.
Sunrise to sunset.
Yeah. Yeah, I made him a crop, and he had a gang of hogs and cattle, and I taken care of all of them, 60 cents a day, from daylight till dark.
You didn't have sprays back then, pre-emergence, all this kind of stuff. So, occasionally you'd have to chop corn with a hoe, wouldn't you?
Yeah, what they call river weeds down there in that river bottom. He'd hire a few hands to help chop them weeds out of that 80 acres.
But you know, cattle and horses loved those things, didn't they? They'd eat those leaves just like it is apple pie.
I was in 37, that flood. I was just living down there then, between the railroad and the river. I had 5 families in my house at one time.
Water didn't get over your house.
Now, it just barely got in my floor. And I had a John boat to pull rolls. Every other day, I'd load a load of Red Cross feed here at Calvert City and go clear down about 3 miles and then go across the river every other day with that. They put everybody's stock over on that hills in Livingston County.
Mm-hmm.
And that fella's giving me 60 cents a day to haul feed over there to him. He had a lot of stock over there.
Mm-hmm.
I've crossed that river when there's buildings and treetops and everything going down it.
Wasn't that pretty dangerous?
Yeah, it's a wonder I hadn't got drowned. It's sleeting and raining too all the time. That was in January.
I can remember that. I was a freshman in high school that year, going to New Concord.
My daddy lived joining farms to where I was living, and I thought his house was 5 foot higher than where I was, but he got up to cross sashes in his house in them windows. And it just barely got in the floor down there where I was at.
Well, the eye doesn't always tell us what a level would tell us, does it?
Hear people back the creek was behind me. I could hear people hollering back over there, and I'd get in that old John boat and go back through the woods and back there and haul them out. I had 5 families in my house at one time.
Well, everybody was saying it will never get as high as it did in 1913 or 1927, but it came up pretty fast and got a lot higher than that, didn't it?
I was in 13, but of course it wasn't near as bad as 37. It actually washed Paducah away, that 37 flood.
Yeah, I went to work in Paducah in 1945, and there were still many buildings that were marked. This is where the water reached in 37. It got almost 61 feet. I believe it's 60.8.
They got past the clock, didn't it?
And I remember at the old Illinois Central Railway Station there, they had a mark 11 feet up on the wall.
I lived right on the railroad, and I had 8 head of cattle and 3 horses and a bunch of hogs. I cut the railroad fence and drove the cattle up the railroad to Calvert City and put them up there in a feller's lot. It got over the railroad down below Calvert here.
Yeah. My wife had an uncle living in Paducah on South 6, I believe it was, and they had a 2-story house, and there was a porch on the 2nd floor, and they put a cow up there and left her during the flood.
We got a picture of that. Did you get a reading of it?
In the paper recently, yes, I saw that. Those were horrible days, terrible days. And we pray they don't ever happen anymore. Of course, they built flood walls and a lot of things since that time. But you never know what Mother Nature might come up with. About the time we decide that the Titanic can't sink, it goes down. About the time we decide the flood can never get as high as it did in 37, we might have a surprise someday.
Something's going to destroy this world.
Yeah. All right, wasn't that an awful mess trying to clean up after the...
Yeah. See what?
Did you have a lot of work trying to clean up after the flood water went down?
Oh, not too much. It's just my house mostly. But I stayed out in it every day all during time it's up, hauling people's stock out.
Imagine.
Wasn't hauling them, I just with a boat and tying them to the back end of the boat and swimming them out.
Mm-hmm. Right now, when did you leave Paducah and come back out here?
I moved here in March of '41, but I come to Paducah and I lived on that farm there 5 years before I come here.
Mm-hmm. What kind of crops did you grow?
Corn and tobacco. I used to raise a lot of tobacco. We'd get 10 cents a pound per 10. Now and then it's nearly $2.
Yeah. I tell you, 10 cents sounded good. I recall my dad having, well, I helped him. Of course, I was just a kid, but it was 1933. And we had 6 acres, which for dark fire to keep 2 men busy, suckering and worming and doing everything you had to do to tobacco. And that stuff, the best, brought $3, 100. So the total price was $21 after all expenses were paid.
A lot of money.
Yeah. Well, we were renting the farm from Arthur Blaylock, so we had to give him $7. We had 14. You never tried to live a year on $14, did you?
I said that a whole lot changed from what it was back when I was a boy.
Yeah.
I went in the Army, $21 a month.
13 flood, well, my daddy bought a farm that had an old log house up the side of the road, and he built another. And 13, we had to move out of the house that he built and go to that old log house up there, where he had it for a hog pen around it. We lived there in 13.
Mm-hmm.
I was 8-year-old when we moved there. Well, that make me about 10-year-old, I guess, in 13 flood.
Mm-hmm. Well, people in earlier generations, of course, had lived in log houses. And I noticed today they're kind of coming back again. They're a lot fancier than they were in those days. They fix them up real nice.
People were happier back then than they are now.
Why do you think they were happier?
Didn't have nothing to worry about back then like you do now. No air conditioners. Come in and work all day and come in and lay down on the old front porch. Never thought about the hot weather.
Your wife, did she have to cook meals in a room without any air conditioning?
Oh, yeah. She'd cook dinner, and what was left over, we'd have it for supper. Why, keep it just as good as you can now. Or they'd come, we'd go out and hook up an old iron kettle and heat water and wash out in the yard.
Yeah. I've done that a lot of times. My mother, in fact, I have her old iron kettle, 50-gallon cast iron kettle. And
Cold weather didn't hurt us back then like it does now. Old houses, you could see the chickens through the floor. We was used to that cold weather.
Had plenty of fresh air.
Yeah. A little old wood stove.
Let's Some of us only had a fireplace. Now, that wasn't very warming.
Yeah, I'd feed and milk. I had about 8 cows down there where I lived the last time, milking them by hand. Snow, I don't care if we didn't pay no attention to the cold weather.
Did you sell cream about twice a week?
Yeah, they sold the cream. They sell whole milk too now, but we just sold cream.
And you gave the milk to the pigs?
And fed the milk to the hogs, what we didn't drink.
Yeah.
I dug a hole with a post hole digger back of the house just deep as I could get it, and had one of them long coolers. We'd put the milk in that and put down in there, and they'd have cold milk for supper.
Oh, and that sounds good. And in the top, was there a little can about that deep that you could put a pound of butter into?
They didn't ever put the butter down in there. At the end of the kitchen, I built a platform out there and screened it in. There's where we'd put our victuals from dinner to supper.
Yeah. Well, life is more convenient today, but as you say, it's doubtful that people are any happier than they were then. Tell us about how you amused yourself then.
About what now?
Did you go after supper sometimes to the neighbors and just sit till bedtime?
Well, not too often. After supper, I used to hunt a lot at night. Possum hunt, they called it.
Uh-huh.
And I hunted pretty well all my life. I still rabbit hunt some.
What could you do with a possum?
She'd eat them, her daddy'd eat them, my mother'd eat them. But I never would eat them.
Her mama still living 104.
That possum meat didn't kill her, did it?
I like to hunt.
Did you sell the skins?
Yeah, I sold possum hide. Mole hide. I skinned moles and sold them. I used to sell hide.
I don't know if it's true or not, but I've heard they made powder puffs out of those
that's what
moleskins. They were soft.
I'd skin moles and possums, minks, anything I could catch. I trapped a lot and hunted too.
Do you have an old rooster out here somewhere? I hear one crowing.
Yeah, I got one out there. I had a pretty good bunch of chickens, and something come at getting my eggs. And finally they killed 4 hens and a rooster. And I caught him in the trap, and there's a big old coon.
They will. A fox sometimes will.
Yeah, fox will catch them, but fox won't come up here in town hardly like, but that woods back there's got a lot of coons in it.
Boy, those coons are fighters.
Yeah.
They can whip out any good dog by himself, can't they?
It takes
Several dogs can whip a coon, but
There wasn't no coons hardly in this country when I was hunting, but now they say they can stick here.
were you ever lucky enough to catch a mink?
Uh,
Did you ever catch a mink?
oh yeah, I've had them gnaw the foot off, get out of a steel trap.
Well, they really want to get away, don't they?
I was rabbit hunting here a while back. Dogs was after something, and my daughter's girl's husband was with us, and he went down there where the dogs was, and he killed a mink. He was running a mink.
Mm-hmm. Well, our time's getting away from us. Let me ask you if you'd have any grandchildren.
Grandchildren.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how you have to count them.
No. 25.
I got
25, 26.
this boy here, married man. He's got 2.
What's his name?
Robinson, Jimmy Robinson.
Okay.
Timmy is one of the boys, and then Rita's a girl.
Mm-hmm.
And Louise has got 4, ain't she? 3 boys and a girl. And see, Debbie's got 4 or 5. I don't. I have to count them. And I've got a bunch of grandkids.
25.
Huh?
25.
25, he said you have.
Yeah.
That's a good group. Are there any great-grandchildren?
And great. Great.
Uh-huh.
And great grandkids, I wouldn't know. It'd take me 30 minutes to count them up.
Well, of course, the person's been married 64 years, I believe you said.
How long y'all been married, Bert?
Now, my baby was born in March in 41.
Married in 22.
She's deaf.
Uh-huh.
She had measles when she was a baby and went deaf.
So your grandchildren, are most of them, they're near enough that you get to enjoy them, see them from time to time?
I don't know.
A little louder, right?
They're near enough you get to see them.
Oh,
They don't live in Alaska.
get to see them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, most of them right around here.
Well, that makes life enjoyable. Now, we just got a minute or so left. Do you have any big tale you can tell us? Something that has been funny to you all your life, or mysterious, or
Been here all my life.
scary? I want you to tell us a big story to end this thing.
Yeah, tell him a good ghost story. Tell him that.
What about a ghost story?
About a what?
A ghost.
You don't know what a ghost is.
You know, turn it off just a second. Can you?
I can't understand. That's when my oldest boy was a baby. I moved in over here on the other side of Calvert. Made a trade to make a crop pie. And that fall I went to work down there on building that double track on the railroad. And it was after dark before I'd get in. Well, they told me that house was haunted when I moved there, and I laughed at them. And every night we'd go to bed, we'd turn the light out. Well, that back door is an old homemade door with gate hinges on it back then. You could hear that door open.
Mhm.
And we'd get up and turn the light on, the door would be still shut. Well, I come in that night, well, I told my wife, I said, you sit there in that back door and leave the lamp was burning. And one night I got right up ready to get over in the yard, and the light was on the table, the lamp, and it went out. And I think, well, what in the world did she turn the light out before I got home? I had an old cellar under the floor of that old house, and a door on the outside to get in there. Well, I crawled through that cellar and up in the house and lit the lamp, and there wasn't a soul there. She got scared and left it.
That explained the story. Well, thank you very much.
I lived there a year, though, and never nothing. It didn't hurt me. But it was haunted.
Well, I'm glad nothing hurt you. We've been visiting at the 9th Street home in Calvert City of Mr. and Mrs. Earl Russell. This is Ray Mofield speaking, and we return you now to our studio.